To lock in your favorite WagerTalk expert through the end of the calendar year, it would cost you close to $2,000, but through Sunday at midnight, you can get all sports for all of 2021 from the handicapper of your choice for only $9.99. This comes out to under $4 per day and includes any rare 5% best bets released over this time. Act fast as the WagerTalk rest of 2021 all access $9.99 special expires Sunday when the clock hits midnight.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome back. We are live right here on WagerTalk TV. I'm Andrew McInnis, joined by Bryan, Leonard, and Carmine, Bianco. Some good games today, guys. The playoff push is right here, and it's ready to go here. We have just about 12 to 15 games left for each team, and we're ready to dive into things, guys. Our first game is a great game, but we'll let you know all the games we are going over. We're going to start with the Islanders and the Bruins game. We're going to dive in as well to the Tampa Bay and Florida game. We're going to go with Philadelphia Flyers and the Penguins, the Jets and Leafs, and also the Nashville Predators. They're red hot as they take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Carmine, let's bring you in, man. How are things?
Things are good. A very early morning for me, getting ready for, I did Stoppage Time, the soccer show, covering 4 Europa League games, quarterfinal games today with the guys from WagerTalk.com and Sports Memo. And now we're right into NHL, and there's a huge slate of cards, and I got one of my favorite people on the show with us today, Bryan Leonard. So I'm looking forward to breaking down these 5 games and hearing what he's got to say with it about them.
How are you, Bryan? How are things?
I'm doing well. A little disappointed yesterday. I had one hockey and one baseball, lost them both. San Jose Sharks was a popular play from a lot of people I know. Same with Montreal, and neither team seemed to show, but that's gambling. We'll get them back today. I've got 3 plays up on the site, so hopefully we can get it all back today.
Well, you're a true professional, Bryan, because you're on a 19-8 run and you don't sound too happy about it. So that's how you know you're a true professional and you're ready to just keep on grinding. So congratulations on that great run, Bryan. Let's start with the Islanders and Bruins game, guys, here. Obviously, we just saw the Bruins that they won their last game against the Buffalo Sabres. It ended up going all the way into a shootout. That was Taylor Hall's debut. I had my eyes on the game, guys. That was very interesting. I wanted to see how Taylor Hall would do in his first game as a Bruin, and I wasn't really sold on too much. Seemed like he played it pretty safe. I didn't see anything too special. This Islanders team, though, Paul Mary, I think he's made actually a pretty good difference for this team. Travis Zajac on this team as well. I've mentioned the depth of this team, and they're plus 100 here, the Islanders, and Carmine has talked about the road versus home splits, whether it's been money line sides or totals for this team. But I'm going to go ahead here and go with the dog, plus 100. I think some people are saying that the Bruins are going to try and build some momentum and they're going to try and rally around their team, play better defensively. But I just think right now, I've always thought this Islanders team plays such great playoff style of hockey, very defensive hockey, and protects their own end. And I'm sure the numbers show for that as well. But now they have scoring and they have line depth that I just can't really ignore anymore. And at plus 100, I'll happily take this Islanders squad. And guys, I got to mention this as well. I pretty much mention it every time. We have a 5 listed as the total in this game. Last several weeks, 3-4 weeks, whenever we've seen a 5, it's either gone over or pushed. We have not seen the red when it comes to a 5 as a total in recent weeks. We have not seen a loser. It's been either a push or it's been an over. And I think these two teams could break out and get some goals on the board for us. So give me the Islanders and give me the over. Bryan, we'll go to you first, man. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, the only problem with playing the over, it's a minus 140, but I'm in agreement with you. I mean, that's the only thing you can look at here. My numbers say to play Boston. I just don't trust them. It's similar to the way Montreal has been. My numbers continually come up with Montreal, but they're not showing that they should be trusted in the role of a favorite. Boston is one of those teams that really has done what they've had to do this year, but they've not been anything better. This is a team that obviously is a good team, but they're just not living up to expectations. The Islanders are a team that's playing really well. They've been playing really well for a long time. You go over all their stats. They're about half a goal better when you're looking at 60 minutes of 5-on-5, and they just get better than that when they go on the power play. But The one thing Boston does, and they do this better than anybody, is the penalty kill. They're just terrific in the penalty kill. They've been number one basically all year long by my stats. Numbers say I should play Boston. I just don't have it in me. There's plenty of other games to play on today's card, so I'll sit this one out.
There are plenty of options to play in Carm. I mean, Boston comes off an 8-1 loss to Washington, follows that up by a 1-goal, winner against the Buffalo Sabres. That can't impress you, can it?
If we're looking at because it was against the Buffalo Sabres, then it's not impressive. The thing with Hull is we literally, number one, who's the most excited guy in Boston right now? It's probably David Krejci because, he looks at that number one line with Marchand and Bergeron and Pasternak. He's like, give me some help. And now he's got Taylor Hall. And it might take him a game or two and some practices for these guys to sync together. You can't just throw them on the ice and expect these guys to just pick it up. It's not an all-star game. But it is going to help the Bruins' secondary scoring, sort of moving forward if that second line can start producing. If the Islanders are susceptible, it's on the road. We've seen it. 5 losses in their last 10. Three of their wins went into overtime, where they have done extremely well this season. So are they susceptible? Yeah, on the road against the Bruins team. But the Islanders have beaten the Bruins all 5 games this season. So yeah, those guys in the chat might be saying it's the do factor. The Bruins got to win. It's not always the do factor. While I don't like the side, I won't comment on the side. I will comment on the total. The juice on the 5, taking the over is too high at this point, which leads me to believe that we'll see a 5.5 where the under is juiced at about 115, 120. And if that happens, give me the under 5.5 in that game. So I'm going to wait closer to game time to see if that juice on the over 5 turns this into a 5.5. And at that point, I will click the under on that one.
That's a great point, because as much as I like that over, Carm, and I've said the stats about it that hasn't really lost too often, you're definitely paying a price. And to your point, that number is going to move sooner than later. And Carm says go the other way, go under once you see that 5.5 there. And yeah, Carm, that do factor. I don't think anyone got rich betting the do factor. People always say that a streak can only be snapped. A streak can only be snapped once, but it can get extended countless times. So the
Absolutely.
do factor, I think we've all learned our lesson with that. But the Jets and the Leafs, our marquee matchup here, the 2 top teams in the North Division. The Maple Leafs currently sitting at -170. Jets +145. Puck line is +145 for this Leafs team. If you're not interested in the money line, total sits at 6. And pretty much, I'll put it this way, Carm: the Jets are playing some pretty good hockey right now. They took care of the Sens, took care of the Habs. But look back to the last time they played the Leafs, they couldn't get it done. Whether it's been a low-scoring game or it's been a blowout, they have not been able to find a winner against this Leafs team. Leafs are 7-2-1 last 10 games against this Jets club, and I'm curious. I use this term a lot, but people always question me because how do I know if a team is motivated? But I'm curious about the motivation here until the Leafs get Foligno and get some of these guys and Riley Nash healthy. Because let's face it, they're going to be the top team in this division. They're going to finish number 1. We're seeing them -170. Part of me thinks, although they've dropped 2 straight games, +145 on the Jets for a really motivated team, for a team playing good hockey, for a team showing some great goaltending and goal-scoring ability. It's a decent price here on the dog. Both teams in their last 10 games, Carm, have scored goals. They've averaged over 3.5 goals or 3.25 goals per game. Do you lean towards the under or over here, or any side play for you?
I'm going to use probably the only French I know, au contraire, mon frère, as far as awarding the Leafs top spot. Yes, they're the team that should win this division. But right now, listen, they're par on games, 43 games each, 5 points back is Winnipeg, and they still have to play the Leafs, I think, a couple more times, starting with tonight. Obviously, if the Leafs win tonight, it's done. But if they harbor any thoughts of trying to overtake the Leafs for top spot, They have to win tonight. And you're seeing how serious this game is to them. Listen, if you look at the at their two goalies, Hellenbuck and Boussard, you would have thought Hellenbuck, let's get the win in Ottawa last night. Let's secure those points, and then go with our backup goalie tonight against the Leafs. And they went the other way. They rested Hellenbuck for tonight's game. The Leafs have beaten them 4 of 6 times this year. I'm leaning to the under here because I just think sometimes a hot goalie is the one that can steal you a game, and that's probably what they're thinking. Winnipeg's thinking is here. I'm not sure if we're going to see. I'm going to assume they're going to go back to Campbell. The Leafs are, and other than his loss last time out, he's been absolutely solid with a low goals against average. I'm leaning under here. I just think the 6 is too high a number here. We're not going to see 5.5s in any of the Toronto games. I don't see that happening. But 6 is just a number. If it was 6.5, it would be an auto click on the under here for me. But at 6, I do lean to the under here. I don't have a side in this game. I assume the Leafs should win this game, but they're off of 2 losses. I would have thought the Leafs would have rebounded off that loss to the Canadiens and beaten the Flames, but it's 2 games on the hop for them, and there's no denying the Leafs could lose tonight. It's the NHL over the last couple of weeks has been anything but unpredictable. So can Winnipeg come in here and win tonight on the heels of a back-to-back? Sure they can. Am I willing to take them? No. So I'm going to lean on the under.
Carmine looks for the under here, and I want to clarify, Carmine, I didn't really mean that it's completely over like it actually is. Figuratively, I just kind of meant that the motivation is definitely in more favor of the Jets to come out here and try and steal that top spot.
In the mind of Leaf fans, and rightfully so, they've won this division already. Because they never assume they're going to go on 3 or 4 game losing streaks, but it does happen. But it is the Leafs division to lose, and with a 5-point lead and 13 games left, it's going to be very tough for them to do so unless those 13 games they lose 7 or 8 of them. So with that said, it is they're obviously prohibitive favorites to win this division.
What about Mr. Underdog, Brian Leonard? Any underdog spot here? I mean, it's a nickname I created for you. I hope you don't mind it because I've seen you cash some big winners, both in MLB and NHL on the underdog. So is there a bet on the underdog here in this game?
That would be the only way that I would look here. Sure, they're playing their second and back-to-back, but Matthews left practice early, and he gave his starter's jersey to another player. So there's talk out there right now that Matthews may not be playing in this game. That obviously would have a differential here to favor the Jets. I think the better way to play this is to play the Jets in the first period. Normally, when you look at a hockey game, the home advantage gets stronger as the game goes on. You've got a team in the Jets that nobody thinks they're going to come out fresh because they played yesterday. But if you're Winnipeg, you're giving it all in the first period. You can't afford to fall behind when you played yesterday. And if I take a look at the Winnipeg Jets this year in the first period, they've had 8 games where they've tied. They were tied after the first period. But other than that, on the road, the Jets are 10-6 in the first period of a game. So if you were to play the Jets, plus the half or the Jets on the money line, I think it works out pretty well for you here. I did it the other day. You mentioned the Boston-Buffalo game. I did that with Buffalo, Buffalo in the first period on the road has been very good all season. And I played half and half. They ended up tied. I won a half a bet. So that's the way I'm going to be looking at this one. I'm going to play the Jets plus a half and also on the money line in the first period. And hopefully it's tied and I win a half a bet. That's the way I'm looking at it.
That's a great theory. I like that, Brian, because like you said, the advantage definitely does just tend to get greater and greater as the game moves forward. So definitely no arguing that. Let's jump in here to our line change game here, guys. The Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Battle of Pennsylvania, minus 170 from a minus 165. So not too much of a movement here. But Brian, we've had some fun. And I don't want to say this in a really bad way, so I apologize to Philadelphia fans, but we've had some fun betting against the Flyers on this show in particular. The number is minus 170. We can look at the -1, the regulation. But to me, Carter Hart is in nets. He's confirmed for the Philadelphia Flyers. maybe he's going to try and pick things up. You know, his reputation is on the line. He's being called out. But as you know, he hasn't played too well for the Philadelphia Flyers. Pittsburgh, they've turned things on, man. They acquired Jeff Carter. They always seem to acquire some veteran forward around the trade deadline and always try and keep this team alive and give them some moving piece. Did it with Jerome McGinley a couple years back. They did it with Phil Kessel. They're always doing it. How do you feel about this game, Battle of Pennsylvania?
As many times as I've faded Philadelphia this year, it's hard for me to say, but I think there's value on the Flyers here. From a spot standpoint, Pittsburgh returns home off a successful road trip. Philadelphia's actually won 3 of the 5 meetings. This is one game, one team that Philadelphia seems to get up for. They've all been really exciting games. The problem is, I like Philadelphia in this game, but when I just spoke about first period goals, they are terrible in the first period. They've hurt themselves all season long, but coming out and getting off to a slow start. This is a game I'm looking to play on if Pittsburgh gets off to an early start in this game. After the first period, let's say if they're leading, gives us even more advantage on playing Philadelphia in the game. And I know the home field gets strong, or home ice gets stronger as the game goes on. But this Philadelphia team has been totally against anything that makes sense this year. So I'm hoping Pittsburgh takes a 1-0 lead at the end of the period, and I can come in and get +2 something on Philadelphia the rest of the way out. And that's the way I'm looking to play this one. I think it's a good matchup for Philadelphia. From a spot standpoint, the line's a little bit too high if you ask me. But the live bet's probably even the better chance. Of course, if they get off to a 2-0 lead, we don't have to worry about it. But if Pittsburgh does get out to that lead at the end of the first period, I'm coming in on the money line in live betting.
Live betting, interesting angle there, Brian, and it's definitely a thing. You know, certain teams definitely get up for other teams more than others. We've seen it with Ottawa against Toronto this year. Carm, I do believe you were on the over in the Philadelphia-Washington game. We talked about that on this show, and this team just tends to go over so many times, 14 their last 20, 5 straight between these two teams with Philadelphia on the road. What are your thoughts on this game, and in particular, any total bets from you?
Yeah, you know, I should probably, and I have in over the last couple of weeks, post a lot more of my totals as plays at WagerTalk, because I'm hitting at a pretty good rate on them, and I gave out, I think, 3 of them on the show yesterday that hit, and I'm liking totals today. This is another one where I like the over. 5 games these teams have played. I know the total is 6.5, but all 5 games have gone over the total. The Pens have gone 5 straight overs. 7 of their last 10 games overall have gone over the total. And then you look at the Flyers on the road, 7 of their last 10 games going over the total, just because they're not getting the goaltending. You can even look at things like, and I wanted to see what the VIG was on this, the first period over in this game, and I got it at 1.5 minus 150, and I took it. While I normally wouldn't want to lay that much juice on a first period total, 4 of the 5 games between these two have shot well over that total. If I could find a 2, I would take a 2 at plus money and go over the total of 2 in the first period between these two. I think the price is a little high. Anytime a team returns home off a road trip, I sort of look to if the price is good enough to try and fade them. But this Pittsburgh team is just, they're not only winning, they're scoring goals. I'm not sure where I want to go here, but I agree with you, Andrew, that the Flyers, if there's a team they get up for, it's this Pittsburgh team. It's that Pennsylvania rivalry. So I'm not taking a side. I'm just going to go flat out over on this game.
The over from Carmine. Guys, I just saw online, I just got an alert here. I believe it's pretty much confirmed we will not see Matthews, nor we will see Nylander tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So right now, all the line combos we're seeing tweeted out from all the reporters and writers from the Maple Leafs don't have Nylander and do not have Matthews in that lineup. And Hellebuck, of course, like Carmine said, is the starter for the Winnipeg Jets. So I do endorse that plus price. I think it's a pretty good number and hard to refuse, especially with those two guys at the lineup. But our dumper chase game here, guys, today is the Carolina Hurricanes and the Nashville Predators. And guys, I believe this is probably one of our more interesting dumper chase segments we've had in quite some time now. Carm, this Nashville Predators team has turned it on. I mean, they were a fade team. They were a team that couldn't score. They were a team that had zero chemistry. They didn't look like their goaltenders were the same guys that we've seen them be. But all of a sudden, here they come. You know, it's hard to see an L on their game logs right now. If you're looking back over the past 2 weeks, this team has looked good, and they're not just beating bad teams. They've beaten good teams by margin as well. But here's the problem. Got a Carolina team off 2 losses against Detroit, a Carolina team that's been pretty good at bouncing back historically, and a Carolina team that has historically beaten down this Nashville team. We just talked about the fact that we just talked about how some teams get up for more games than others. And I believe for some reason, this Carolina team seems to get up against the Nashville Predators. I believe the run is like 7-1 for the Carolina Hurricanes last 8 against the Nashville Predators. And all of those games, guys, have been decided by more than 1 goal. So, you know, if you like angles, if you like trends, if you like stats and history, and you don't want to lay this price, you can get that puck line at about plus 125, something of that angle here. They say, Carm, don't step ahead of a red hot team, but streaks have to end at some point, man. And this has been a long streak. They're playing well. This Nashville team. Give me the Hurricanes here, minus 1.5, plus 125.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. They're 4-0 against this Nashville team. The Preds and they have the Canes have the best home record in this division. Listen, the Nashville's playing fantastic. 13-3 their last 16. They're beating the teams that they're supposed to be beating. 4 of those wins against Detroit. I think 2 or 3 of those wins against Dallas. So they're beating the teams that they're supposed to be beating in the division, and they've mixed in some games against Tampa, who are struggling right now. So they're doing what they're supposed to be doing to get themselves into this race. It's a tough venue for them. Listen, Brind'Amour is not a guy who spouts off at his team when they don't perform well, but the captains of this team have pulled the players aside. It was one of those closed door meetings that was discussed, and then and off those 2 losses against Detroit. And I got to think that they bounce back today against this Nashville team. Do I want to lay $1.85? I don't. I would rather, as you said, maybe look at the puck line in this game and take some of that plus money. I have to think Carolina bounces back tonight at home. They're going to end this homestand on a winning note. I have to believe. So I'm in agreement with you on this on the puck line bet.
Carmine, I agree. Bryan, can we make it 3 in a row, man?
I agree. I'll play it the other way. I'll play them straight up. Lay the number with Carolina here. It's a dominant team off of an embarrassing loss, and they've played this team as well, as you pointed out, as well as anybody. Love to play a team off of a bad loss, playing a team that they've dominated. Nashville has been playing great. Carmine talked about how well they've been doing defensively. He's right on. But when you take a look at the teams that they have beaten, they are teams that are either struggling right now, which is Tampa Bay, or they played teams that just aren't very good. This is going to be their toughest matchup going on the road here against Carolina. You have to think after a 7-2 home win over Tampa Bay, they're feeling pretty good about themselves, winning 2 straight games. Again, Dallas is a good team too. So they took those 2 games. Now they got to go on the road, play 2 games in Carolina. I think Carolina sweeps them. I laid the 185 or whatever it is with Carolina as my play in this one.
Give us the 3-0 sweep on the show. I'd love to see it. Love to see a consensus play. Hopefully, a consensus is a good thing on this show today. So give us the Carolina Hurricanes to avenge themselves after 2 straight losses to the Red Wings, and they are a rebuilding team, that's for sure. The Panthers and the Lightning total sits at 5.5 between these 2 teams. And Carm, we've talked about the fact these totals have gotten lower and lower. Yesterday, Prez mentioned on WagerTalk today that we are not seeing 6.5s too often anymore. What do you think about this number here?
Yeah, before I get into this game, I would be remiss if I didn't mention something. Our Wednesday, our regular Tuesday guy who has that backdrop that drives me absolutely nuts, Don Buster of Sports Memo, has a 5% play up tonight in NHL. Buster's on a 9-4 run with his 5% plays across all sports and on a 70% run with his NHL. He's doing absolutely fantastic over at Sports Memo. You'll see him on that leaderboard that they have over there. And now head over to Sports Memo and pick up Buster's 5% play for tonight. I hope it's a winner and nothing that I'm on the opposite end of. As far as this total, Andrew, these teams have split their 4 games so far. All 4 games have gone over the total. Tampa's struggling. You know what I mean? They're 4-6 their last 10. How do you get out of that? I think you score goals. It's not about you return home, you score goals. It's not about defensive play because they've looked good. They're getting outscored in games. So give me the over here. I'm not going to give you too many stats on this one. This is one where as soon as I saw the total, I thought I'm taking over on this one. I told you I'm on more totals today than I am on sides, and this is one. I don't want to take a side in this game. I just want the total, so give me the over.
All right, the over from Carmine. 5 straight meetings when Florida travels to Tampa have gone over the posted total here. And Carmine, I know you mentioned score some goals in order to snap this rut that they're in. Well, they've been getting scored on. So if they score even a few themselves, it looks like we'll go over the total because they've been getting scored on 3, 4, 5, 7 against Nashville. They're getting scored on. So Bryan, where do you go here from a total standpoint?
From a total standpoint, I can't disagree with the over, but from a side standpoint, I think there's value here on Florida. To me, the way Tampa's playing right now, I can't trust them in this range. Florida's a team that is a solid hockey team, and I'm looking to bet on them in this price range. You take a look at 5-on-5, you take a look at the stats, and Tampa's better, but they're not this much better, especially the way they've been playing now. I think Florida gets at least, well, I think it wouldn't surprise me if Florida gets at least three in this game here. So the over in Florida looked like a pretty good deal. I do want to point out that Carmine's always making fun of Buster's backdrop. I would love it if the guys in the office there would, since he's using a green screen, one day, just in the middle of his talking, switch the green screen to put that same ugly background behind him so we can make fun of Carmine once in a while.
They've thought about it. Trust me, they've thought about it, and it's going to happen. Buster actually bought me one of those. He's heading to Vegas next week. He'll be doing the show from Vegas, and he's going to drop off one of those backdrops. I told you I'm just going to cut a hole in it, put it over, wear it like a poncho. I'll get one of those avocado from Mexico kind of salsa hats or whatever they have, and I'll just we'll just be brother in arms. That's all.
Sombrero? Is that the word you're looking for, Carm?
That's it. The sombrero. Poncho, sombrero.
Avocado.
I got that tune.
And I love
since the Super Bowl, that damn tune pops into my head every once in a while. That's stupid. And the commercials, they run him here on the sports networks all the time. The avocado from Mexico. It absolutely drives me nuts at times. So
I love the fact that that Buster just says, yeah, you know what, Carm? Well, Mrs. Buster went to the store. Not him in particular. And Buster, I hope you're watching the show, and I hope you win your big play tonight. But he's like, Mrs. Buster went to the store, and we got Carm one of the backdrops. So maybe we'll have to get Carm to set it up for at least one day to see what it looks like behind him. Guys, usually I throw it to the guests. I'm going to start first, and I'm going to go with the over in the Bruins and Islanders game. And I know that Carm, he said that the juice is too high, and he said that it's going to go to 5.5. But I'm going to go with stats here. I'm going to be data driven, as some people might say, and say that we haven't seen many losses over the past not just couple weeks, like 2-3 years, when we've seen a 5 as the total. I know long term you're not going to be successful betting totals, laying a price like this, but minus 135, 140. Give me the over 5 here in this one. Carm mentioned the secondary scoring has now increased, got more talented with the Bruins. And I think the Islanders, they've got more secondary scoring as well with Palmieri and Zajac. So Give me the over in that one. I will have a 3-pack up in the NHL, or I do have up in the NHL, and also I have one MLB best bet getting ready to post directly after this show. Bryan, we'll go to you, man. How are things been? How's it going? You're on that great NHL run. What do you have across all sports here tonight at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, I'm still working on my baseball for tonight. Hockey, I've got 3 plays up in a nice package. $29, get all 3 plays, normally $75. So hopefully some people take advantage of that. 19-8 run in hockey, even though we did lose yesterday. I may have some disagreement with Carmine on this game, but I am taking a look at Detroit plus Detroit in the first period. I think is the best way to take a look at this game. Chicago's beaten them 5 out of 6. Chicago's just coming off of big win on the road. They just beat Tampa Bay on the road, and here's a situation with Detroit. Detroit's been playing really well right now compared to earlier in the season. I don't know if it's a lot of teams are just giving up on them or just taking it for granted, but they beat Tampa Bay on the road. Then they go to Carolina, beat Carolina 5-4 and 3-1. They're beating some good teams, and now you're making them a pretty sizable underdog here. But I'm going to take a look at them in the first period here. In the first period, we're looking for Detroit. If you take a look at Detroit at home this year, they've had 9 ties. But out of the other 13 games, they've gone 8-5. And when you take a look at Chicago on the road in the first period, they're losing money on the season. So it's a situation for me where Chicago's had 11 ties. They're 4-7 in the first period. So you've got a team at home in Detroit that obviously is playing with some revenge here because they've gotten embarrassed by Chicago. And they played better in the first period. I like Detroit in the first period of this game, and that's what I think is probably the best play on the board.
Detroit in the first period, great angle there. And I've had some success with those first period plays as well, Bryan. Carm, it's been a really fun show. I've enjoyed it. Some good laughs, some good smiles, some good information. Whatever you do, don't disagree with us, please, man. Just don't start any arguments.
No, listen, there is a way for you guys to push your bets, your best bets today, and for me to win on my opinions, right? You can push on the 5 and I can win on the 5.5 if it hits that, so which is good. And Bryan could push on the first period and I could win my show best bet, which I'm about to talk about right now. But I love you guys anyways. Listen, first of all, up at WagerTalk.com, I have 3 NHL games for tonight. I'm having a really good April in NHL, so you want to get on board there. 4 soccer plays in Europa League today. Those go at 3 o'clock, so that maybe that one-day all-access package, $39, grabs all of those plays. My show best bet, I am going to a game that we did not cover. I'm going to the game that Bryan talked about, the Chicago-Detroit. And I'm going to use a Marco D'Angelo phrase here. While it doesn't apply to Detroit, I'm still going to use it. I think they're feeling fat and sassy after those 2 wins in Carolina. They come home. They have never won this season, yet to win this season, 3 games in a row. They're at 2. I think that's where it ends. The Blackhawks tonight, I'm taking the puck line. The Hawks are 5-1 against Detroit this season. They've won both games in Detroit. 4 of their 5 games that they've beaten Detroit have been by 2+ goals. And this is a Chicago team now that is sort of looking at that Nashville 4 points back with the game in hand and saying, hey, we keep winning and beating the teams we're supposed to beat. And Detroit is one of those teams they're supposed to beat. We have a shot at that 4th spot and getting into the playoffs. So it starts tonight. A win tonight coupled with a Nashville loss in Carolina, and they're now 2 points back with the game in hand. That 4th spot is going to go right down to the wire. Chicago -1.5 plus 155. That's my show best bet.
The playoff push is here, and a lot of playoff implications are taking place tonight. Like Carmine mentioned, he is on the Blackhawks -1.5 at a good price there, plus 155. Bryan with the Red Wings first period plus 125. There is a way for both those to win, and I'm on the Islanders Bruins over 5 at a -135, 140 price. Again, guys, I know it's a higher price there on that total, but the stats do not lie. It's been a pretty successful trend there, betting on those over 5s. On behalf of Bryan, Leonard, Carmine, Bianco, I am Andrew McInnis. Have a great day, guys. Best of luck, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets for the next 30 days from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1.99 versus the regular price of $3.49 for a total savings of $1.50. Prices are already discounted across the board and no coupon is required. Just head over to WagerTalk.com, pick your favorite handicapper in the experts menu, and lock them in for 30 days across all sports for only $1.99.